Fuller.
Here.
Dan Fadden.
Here.
Brent Jackson.
Here.
Mike Rudderberry.
Here.
Dan Rubino.
Here. We have a proclamation. Order for a proclamation for flood insurance. Therefore, we, the town of Grant-Valkaria, do hereby proclaim March the 3rd, 2025 through March the 9th, 2025 as Flood Awareness Week in the town of Grant-Valkaria. And further encourage the citizens of the town of Grant-Valkaria to increase their knowledge of how to protect themselves and their property from flooding.
Make a motion to adopt this proclamation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Lawrence Sheriff's monthly report.
Thank you all for having me. To go through, just typically speaking, the primary activity within the area of Grant-Valkaria has been associated with proactive patrol areas of businesses and residences, as well as traffic enforcement. This month, it appears to be a reduction in some of the accidents that we've had especially in the US 1 corridor, which is good, with only having 3 accidents total. And I believe only one of those actually had injuries to begin with. Additionally, there's been 3 burglaries that have been reported, 3 vehicle-related burglaries. I don't know all the details on those to be able to give. However, 3 burglaries in the month, with me not having the details, usually suggests that it's not as free that is occurring within the general area of your township. Again, we've only had 1 missing individual. We've had a handful of disturbances within the town, but they have not been upgraded to anything of a criminal nature to suggest a battery of any sort, which is a good sign, just people not getting along and that being diffused. As far as anything else, that's the primary activity that's been law enforcement-wise within the county, which is a fantastic thing for a month.
Anybody have questions? Thank you very much. Well, sounds like we're having a good week.
These are the reports that I like to be able to give. It's a pleasure to see all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Veterans Memorial Week, Lewis.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
My name is Lois McManus. I'm with the Grant-Valkaria Community Association, and thank you for fitting us in with everything you've got on the agenda tonight. If you haven't had a chance to look at the Veterans Memorial site lately, you'll be pleasantly surprised that we have started out with construction. Construction started with Daryl Williams from CDM Trucking, bringing in builder and preparing the pad for concrete. Don Herndon from Herndon Construction, or Leonard Herndon, I'm sorry, from Herndon Construction, brought in his crew and installed the handicap ramp. And in the past few weeks, John Downbeck with JDC Concrete squared off the site and placed footers and poured the pad. Kennedy Concrete poured the concrete, and we're still in the 30-day curing stage before we can do anything with the concrete. Ronnie McMillan donated 3 pallets of sod. The next step in the construction schedule will be the outside walls, 2 flagpoles, the paper rosetta in the center that will also hold the compass in the center of the pad. This would not have been possible without the contributions and sponsorships we've received from the community. Rightfully so, we have had the chosen as golf tournament on October 25th, just before the Sandhill Train tournament begins at 8:30 with the shotgun start. So if you want, you purchase your golf ball, you can purchase your golf ball tickets between now and October 24th for a chance to win $1,000. The tickets are $10 each. The golf ball that drops closest to the hole will win $1,000. The golf ball that drops farthest from the hole wins $250. And you do not need to be present to win. As GVCA has also secured an electric Surfa bicycle for which we'll sell raffle tickets for $10. The winner of the electric bike will be drawn on November 30th during the town Christmas lighting ceremony. Donations and sponsorships will be continued, and we also have a lot of community events coming up. So GVCA has a lot of events going on right now, and we will continue this through the end of the year. The events will be posted on the news channel that Mandy sends out periodically in the vehicle, and of course on all social media areas. So in closing today, we've had a busy day. We've had a very blessed day today. The Veterans Memorial Park was blessed with the following in-kind donations today. Patty Pavers, who's located in Stewart in Indian River County, is donating all the pavers that will go into the Rosette and the Compass. All of the pavers. Bill Lewis from Grant here is donated 2 flagpoles. Mike Pearson with M&C Pavers is donating the labor for the paver placement. Kenny Waterbury is donating the paver basing, and American Pressure Systems is donating the paver sealer. So, just today, we have probably got, for in-kind donations, around $17,000. That we'll say. So, anyway, thank you for all of your support, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Seriously? Oh.
Good
job.
Thanks.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you, thank you. Uh-huh.
Changes to the agenda, anyone have any changes to the agenda?
I do. I'm gonna add award bid 2025-01, hard surfacing of Gold Rush Avenue as number 6, and we're gonna change bid to number 7.
Okay. Anybody else have any changes? Okay. Public hearing, we have a motion, and we have to make a motion and a second, and a roll call for the second and final ordinance of 2024-09.
I need a motion and a second to remove it from the table, since it was tabled at the last meeting, or in December.
I'll make a motion to remove the table.
Who seconded it? Okay.
Oh, was it Brent?
Glenn? Roll call? No roll call? Okay.
Just vote.
Vote, you want to vote?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. On to second reading of the ordinance number 2024-09.
This was advertised in Florida Today on October 10th, 2024. Individual notices mailed October 8th, 2024. An ordinance of the town of Grant-Valkaria, Brevard County, Florida, rezoning property as follows. Parcel ID 29-37-3400286 and 293734000287, and more particularly described in this ordinance from AU Agricultural Residential to BU1A Restricted Neighborhood Retail Commercial, providing for the amendment of the official zoning map, providing an effective date, rezoning number Z 2024-04.
If I may, Mr. Chair. As the ordinance says, this is a rezoning request from AU to BU1A. Before we start the public hearing, let me just make a couple of things clear. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding. The council sits as the judge of the evidence that's being presented. In that respect, the initial burden is upon the applicant to show that they've met the objective criteria of the code. In that respect, 20-1151 subparagraph C would be the criteria that needs to be met, and I'm going to submit that as part of the record, and I gave counsel a copy of that already, not opposing counsel, but counsel for the applicant. As I said again, it's the burden of the applicant to meet those criteria. I'm also going to be submitting as part of the record, and again, I provided council a copy of it, the comparison between the AU permitted uses with conditions, and conditional uses with the BU1A. That is available to be brought up on the screen should one of the council members desire to see it. I mean, it shows the significant differences between AU and BU1A, just in the permitted uses, showing BU1A has quite a few more, maintaining the rural character of the town, but also section 9.03 of the charter, which would require an affirmative vote of 6 or more members to presumably make a presentation, or they may just rely on the previous submittals they made, which I believe are available for us to bring up on the board. After the applicant makes their presentation, council may ask, do what they gotta do.
Vice Mayor, fellow council members. My name is Carmine Ferraro, Crossover Commercial Group. I'm here representing the applicant, the landowners of the property, and the current buyer that's under contract. I believe all of you were here when we had our first reading. So I'm gonna ask this board, would you like me to make that same presentation tonight for the benefit of everybody here? We're prepared to do that. Or would you like us to make a summary summarizing?
If I might, and I think we may have told you this, I think that's up to them whether they want to make the presentation or not. If you want to, please, it's up to you. I don't think the board wants to direct you what you need to do.
We will go ahead and make the presentation again, just so that it's the benefit of everybody here. Can you bring that up, the PowerPoint? So again, this is an application where we are looking at the existing zoning AU, agricultural, and we're asking for that to be rezoned to BU1A. We are also looking at maintaining the existing commercial future land use, and that was one of the main components of our presentation, that we are not asking to change the future use of the property. At some time back, years ago, your town sat down and determined what would be commercial in the future. You filed your comprehensive plan and designated that this particular piece of property would at some point in the future be part of your future commercial use. So what we are asking for is simply the property, the way it sits today on the corner on a major road. We're asking that it would be able to be used for a low impact neighborhood commercial zoning that would be compatible with that future land use that you have. Okay, next screen, please. So again, basically what we did on this second screen is we looked at how the staff report was presented, and in summary, all construction shall conform to commercial overlay zone supplemental regulations. The request for BU1A zoning meets all the requirements in the zoning classification as well as the future land use. BU1A zoning category, which consists of neighborhood commercial uses that are compatible with the character of the nearby low-density residential neighborhoods, and staff had no adverse comments regarding the report that they put together. Okay, so next screen. So then this map basically shows us what the existing situation is right now. We've got an agricultural zoning on the corner, and then we have a local commercial future land use. What we are proposing, again, is a BU1A, which is your low density commercial, neighborhood commercial, to be inside that local commercial future land use. Next screen. Over here in the map, we're showing the future land use and Babcock Street extension, basically looking at the future land use, the vacant land that is there in that commercial designation, and then what's going on. This gives kind of an overview of the area. What we wanted to show here is how this relates in terms of where you have a very critical mass of concentration of commercial and Bayside Lakes, and then you have the newly formed area around St. John Heritage Parkway. And this is where most of the national type users and users that are going to be around a more community commercial environment are going to locate. So the neighborhood commercial is going to be more for that transitory in-between area where we're looking at mom and pop shops and local low density type commercial use. So next we have compatibility between the local future land use and the B1A zoning. So local commercial future land use purpose statement, local commercial development activities are intended to be of low impact in nature and serve the needs of the immediate residential area. Intrusion of these land uses into surrounding residential areas shall be limited. BU1A zoning purpose statement states in your plan, BU1A restricted neighborhood retail commercial zoning classification encompasses lands devoted to limited retail shopping and personal services to serve the needs of nearby low-density residential neighborhoods. Next slide shows consistency with the comprehensive plan regarding the food policy. 2.2 states local commercial development activities are intended to be low impact in nature, serve the needs of the immediate residential area. Intrusion of these lands into surrounding residential areas shall be limited. Existing BU1A uses that were in the Brevard County ordinance, which were established as of the adoption date of the future land use element, shall be considered consistent with this policy. So seeking BU1A is consistent with this element of your food state. The next one is consistency with food policy 2.3. Locational and development criteria for local commercial land uses as follows. A local commercial cluster shall be located along major roadways as well as intersections, except as otherwise provided for in the comprehensive plan. All access to the parcel shall be from a major roadway. B, new local commercial land uses shall not exceed more than 3 acres at each corner of an intersection and along the Babcock Street frontage. Local commercial land uses at such intersections shall not exceed 8 acres. C, the gross floor area of local commercial complexes shall not exceed 7,000 feet, and the floor area ratio shall not exceed 75%. And D, transition from higher intensity commercial to residential. So in summary, what we're saying here is that we are consistent. Mom and pop and local uses would be, and I do remember, I think it was Vice Mayor pointed out to me that this type of building could not be built in Grant, and it's absolutely 100% true. So as part of this process that we're going through, we're simply looking to create the land designation by zoning. The next step, of course, would be to then go through a design engineering procedure to meet all the codes that the city has set out for design and development to make sure it encompasses environmental concerns, natural resources, tree canopy, road access, traffic, everything. And then on top of it, your city being very smart, a lot of cities are doing this, you have an architectural element you've added. That way you can control what that commercial environment is going to look like. And quite honestly, a lot of that type of architectural element is designed to keep the national chains more near the Publixes, because they're branded and they don't want to lose their branding identity, so they're not going to change their facade and match that. But in this type of a situation with a small 7,000 square foot service retail type facility, the facade will be of a nature that is consistent with your city, and it'll be something that will be part of the aesthetic appearance of the building, which will bring value when the tenants are able to come in there. So that picture I left in there because I didn't want to change anything and make it look like we were pulling a fast one on you guys. We left it exactly, but that is not how any future building. Application or amendment to the official zoning maps based on the consideration of the following factors. 1, the character of the land use of the property surrounding the property being considered. 2, The change in conditions of land use of the property being considered, the surrounding properties since the establishment of the current applicable zoning classification, special use, or conditional use. The impact of the proposed 3 zoning classification or conditional use on available and projected traffic patterns, water, sewer systems, and other public facilities and utilities, applicable laws, ordinances, regulations relating to zoning and land use regulations based upon the consideration of public health, safety, and welfare. And that's a lot. That's your code laying out how this looks in terms of how we meet that criteria, right? So the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Board shall specify the revision, approval, denial of the application. So one of the things that we have a question on is we never received from the Planning and Zoning Board a reason why they did deny us. So we would like to request that. That it looks like it's part of what we were supposed to get some kind of reason for denial. It also says here, as town council goes forward, because you have your Planning and Zoning Board, and they're to make informed recommendations for you, any specific recommendation on the application. So we just wanted to go ahead and point that out, right? Because again, you're gonna basically, after I've spoken and you hear your public comment, you're gonna come back and you're gonna deliberate. You're gonna make a determination, have we met the criteria for you to consider approval of this? So then we get into a little more of the legal side of it, and I know Lori made that presentation. It's okay if I read this?
Go right ahead.
I'm not an attorney, and I'm not trying to do anything legal here. I'm just going to read it because it is very relevant. Complies with Florida Statute 163.3194, Comprehensive Plan, states legal status of comprehensive plan after a comprehensive plan or element or portion thereof has been adopted in conformity with this act. All development undertaken by and all actions taken in regard to this development order by government agencies in regard to land covered by such plan or element shall be consistent with such plan or element as adopted following that comprehensive plan. 3A, a development order or land development regulation shall be consistent with the comprehensive plan if the land use densities, the intensities, and other aspects of development permitted by such order or regulation are compatible with the, and further the objectives, policies, and land uses, and densities or intensities in the comprehensive plan, and if it meets other criteria enumerated by the local government. So, just a good example for me, and this is all legalese in my mind, is to say that if that future use is something other than commercial, then to stand here and try to ask for a commercial zoning would be completely inconsistent with what your comprehensive plan already states. So, 163.3164, Section 15, development order means any order granting, denying, or granting with condition for an application or a development permit. 16 says development permit includes any building permit, zoning permit, subdivision approval, rezoning, certification, special exception, variance, or any other official action of a local government having the effect of permitting the development of the land. So the Planning and Zoning Board, under quasi-judicial process, had no adverse comments with respect to this. Well, we didn't get any adverse comments during that in consideration of this. So the request for rezoning to BU1A, we feel that we are, in stating this, is compliant with the Grant-Valkaria Code Section 20.1151 and consistent and in compliance with the Florida Statute 163-3194. We also believe it's very compatible with the existing area for the other reasons that I stated. And then the final slide, which is an important part of everybody's comp plan. We know that private property rights element was added to the plan, and it's something that we all want to have as owners of real property. And so the objective, the goal, objective, and policy, your goal was the town shall recognize and respect all judicially acknowledged or constitutionally protected private property rights when making all decisions. Local decisions made by the town council shall consider the right of a property owner to use, maintain, develop, and improve his or her property for personal use or for the use of any other person subject to state law and local ordinances. So again, why we tie this back in, we feel if we have met that burden, if we have shown you the consistency the compatibility with your comp plan, and we're not asking to change that future use, we feel this should weigh very heavy in deliberation that the private property rights of this individual would be verified and would be codified in supporting this. Last screen. So just in summary and closing, the applicant is seeking the zoning from AU1 to U1A in compliance with future commercial use and with the local commercial development designation. 2, the applicant has shown the proposed rezoning use is consistent and compatible with the future land use map and the comprehensive plans adopted by the town. 3, the application for rezoning complies with all procedural requirements, is consistent with the comprehensive plan and town ordinances. 4, staff report has no adverse comments indicating the rezoning use is consistent and compatible for all reasons stated. 5, Grant-Valkaria must consider the private property element in its comprehensive plan when voting on this application. 6, the Florida statutes require governments to approve actions that are consistent and compatible with their comprehensive plans. And then finally, maintaining the current use does not accomplish a legitimate public purpose as required to allow council to deny the rezoning request from AU to BU1A. I thank you for your time, and I'll answer any questions if you have.
I have, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Yes, I have a question. Jason, could you bring up the list that you gave to us? The AU versus BU1A comparison prepared by staff. Here you go. You showed us several examples of what you can do, but this list is rather extensive. Would you agree that the uses in AU versus AU BU1 are many, many more by this?
Yes.
And it is another page, isn't there, a second page as well? So anything in that category can be used, and you can't define anything that you know other than what you said as far as the commercial. But, okay,
I mean,
I just wanted to be aware
the way I would
uses
answer
are
that,
many, many more.
if it has commercial land use designation, then it has a commercial intent to be used commercially in the future, right? We can agree on that.
We can't agree.
What could go in there would be consistent with the restrictions of that zoning category. So if B1, which is your lowest zoning category and is compatible with neighborhood commercial type smaller buildings, it's not going to attract the branded national type tenants. You're not going to get a Starbucks there. You're not going to get those kind of tenants there. You're going to get the local hair salon. You're going to get the attorney's office, the insurance office, the dentist, and these type of uses. Do all of those uses seem to fall into that category? I believe you set that up, right, to be your low impact. Now, would there be some uses that might not be attracted to that area? Sure, there might be. I mean, I think we saw some on there, like recreational and park facilities on there.
There's many more. Your opportunities are
Foster
greatly
homes
increased
and
with
some of
these,
those
right?
type. So, if you were to build that kind of a commercial retail facility, they would attract local mom and pop retail.
I think the point I'm trying to make is that the permitted uses, there's significantly more permitted uses allowed under BU1A than in the AU.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. That's my point when you showed a couple.
Oh,
like
yeah.
another thing, but there's many more uses available.
Absolutely.
Than was shown. Okay.
But under a future commercial land use of local commercial, it would be common for those uses to be permitted.
Understood. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Brent? Tom? That's it?
Number 3 on our 5 criteria talks about the impact of the proposed zoning or conditional use on available and projected traffic patterns, water and sewer systems, other public facilities and utilities, and the established character of the surrounding property. Did you address traffic and water and sewer systems?
Excellent question. So what I did address was that at this stage of the process, what we are asking for is a commercial zoning, low impact, low density commercial zoning consistent with your future land. Now, provided we get that tonight, that does not ensure whether this buyer goes through another, the existing landowner sells to another person, or or decides someday he wants to develop it himself, he will be able to put anything there. What that next process will entail is coming to the city and or your consultants that you have that work for you in this, and working through that very long process of traffic engineering, site design, sewer, utilities, all the things that would have to be put into place that your city controls that process completely. It either meets your code for development and meets every aspect of that code, or it can't be developed. So could that person end up owning a piece of land with that new zoning classification and not put a property on there? Yes, he could.
But this, to even give you the zoning that you're requesting, our procedure requires you to tell us about the projected traffic patterns, and you haven't done that I remember.
I think what you'll do is let the audience make their presentation if they would like, and then if you have any additional questions after the audience, makes their presentation, then let's reserve it for them, but I understand what you're saying. I mean,
It's one of the 5
it's a
criteria.
relevant inquiry, yes.
Well, there's several other things too.
Well, let's get the audience, give them the opportunity.
Let's give the audience an opportunity to come up and speak. Anybody in the audience who want to come and speak on this? You should come on up, give us your name.
My name is Joseph, last name is Dargis. Welcome, nice to meet you all. I'm new to the community. I'm a buyer, I buy commercial property. I just basically came here to listen and meet and greet everybody, but listening to this gentleman here, he's yet to explain what the purpose of the rezoning of the property is, other than to get that commercial zoning. My feeling sitting in the audience is nothing more than a dollar sign. From being changed from a residential property to a commercial property, that property was, let's say, $400,000. Once you rezone it to commercial, it's gonna be back up on the market for $895,000. It's no benefit to the community. He hasn't explained anything to me. What are you doing for us as township people? What is the benefit of that property going to be other than dollar signs to me? No, nothing has been said as far as what he wants to put on that property, how it's gonna benefit the community by putting it on the property. None of that. And I applaud you for your survey that it's kind of a backwards way that it's being done, because you're allowing people to rezone property for dollars and cents before they actually do the physical work of finding out the traffic study, the impact on that land, the feasibility of that land. That's all I can say. I've been a builder all my life. I'm well known in Port St. Lucie, on the councils and things. I'm here as a new resident of this community, and I also, buy property, but I try to do it the right way, and I try to do it for the benefit of the community and aesthetically pleasing. And also, I would make the council aware of what my intentions are with that property. It is a large list of things that you can do with that commercial property. You're gonna have a legal battle fighting that when they come to you and says, because it felt like I was sitting here and he was defending, it was a legal battle. And this is a township. Explain to me what you're gonna use the property for. And explain to me, like you did all your studies, how are you gonna impact this with traffic? What's gonna come in? So you're setting a precedence by putting that land right there in your commercial zone, because there's a lot of other land around there. So once that becomes commercial, I guarantee you, some investor too, that piece, and that piece will be the next people that'll be in front of you.
There's other pieces around like that.
Okay. Well, it sets a precedence for the next person that's gonna come in front of you.
We have no control.
Let's focus on what we got before us here and not what come down the road, okay?
So that's all I have to say. Again, I didn't really come to speak, I just came to sit and see the whole process, to see how it works and how you go about it. Everything that I've ever done, I try to do it for the benefit of the community. It's not about the dollars and cents. It's what can we do to benefit in a win-win situation. I apologize to you for that. Great presentation, but it wasn't anything that I see for, I don't know, these must be all residents here, to benefit us as residents, other than changing it from $10 to $100. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
Welcome to our town.
Did everybody hear, okay, was that speaker, is it working, the mic working? I just wanna make sure. You can hear, right? That's what I was, yeah, I didn't hear. Okay, I wanna make sure. Yeah. Can you say all that again?
Oh, my God.
You can hear it's just not loud.
Okay.
There we go. Got it, I'll make that for you. Not something to qualify for. Now, anyone else like to come up and make comment? Who's your name, please?
Hello, my name is Ned Batchgalupo from 3310 Grant Road. I've got a whole Gettysburg address ready for you here. We might call it the Gettysburg address. But anyways, today the people of Grant neighborhood are asking for a unanimous vote against the rezoning scheme to create a commercial sector on Grant and Babcock. Over 1,000 people have signed the petition for the town of Grant-Valkaria to reject this rezoning request. The gopher tortoise and the scrub jay occupy these environmentally endangered lands. Grant-Valkaria was established in 2006 to preserve the natural Florida for Floridians. The current plan, which the town council voted in favor of 4-2, is to build a 7-Eleven Quickie Mart along with a strip mall and a commercial sector on Grant Road, a residential neighborhood. A gas station will bring crime and put our way of life here in danger. People ride golf carts, bicycles, walk their dogs, and very other recreational activities, except for the berry pickers. That's not recreational, that's illegal. And we don't want them. And I know that that property is overwhelmed by berry pickers. And that gas station will just bring more. Please turn your phones off during the meeting, sir. We do not want to share our road with 135,000 Palm Bay people. As far as creating a workshop to further belabor your community and make us swallow the poison pill, the Hitler pill, we're not going to that. That's just a blowing hot air, and it's a Philistine bait-and-switch tactic used by political hacks to bamboozle the electorate. The rezoning of Grant for a commercial wasteland goes against our town charter and the will of the people. The town council is elected to represent the voters of Grant-Valkaria, not to pursue pet projects and delusional fantasies of becoming a smart city, or whatever other clandestine modus operandi is cloaked in your liberal agenda. The road to hell is paved on good intentions, and sometimes the dark side overcomes what Lincoln called the better angels of our nature. That's all. I'm going to spare you all the quotes from Jaws and Apocalypse Now, but I have about 15 other pages for you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else like to speak?
My name is Treasure Wayne. Approach. You have one for everybody.
One for everybody. Print them out. So I started this petition to see whether people actually cared or not. And as you can see, at least 1,000 people care, right? These are your neighbors, and they don't want you to vote for commercialization in Grant-Valkaria. Right? And a lot of people have derided this petition and saying, well, some people are from Palm Bay. Well, that's true. Well, those people are equally involved, right? Because we don't control this intersection. As you know, most of it is controlled. Babcock, we don't control. We don't control Eldron. But those people also signed this petition.
and said, hey, we're not interested in seeing commercialization there either. So some facts. Planning and zoning denied. We know that, right? They denied because it's incompatible and it's unsafe. And I'm gonna work around to the public safety aspect in a second. But I want to be clear, this is nothing more than a commercial land deal, right? The applicant, the actual owners are not even here. This is a commercial real estate agent trying to construct a land deal with Summit, okay? So I found it interesting in all of the litigious ramblings about what you should do. There was no discussion of public safety, right? That's probably the most important thing. I had a bunch of notes on here, but I think I'm going to focus on this, right? What do we know about that intersection? Very dangerous, deadly intersection. Brevard County did a traffic study. That is one of the deadly intersections, right? The other one is Valkaria and US 1, right? Things that we don't have money for, right? We're not paying for the intersection there, right? The re-engineering. Maybe Palm Bay does it, maybe they don't. Babcock is a rural country road. You know it is. It's 2 lanes. There's no money to make that 4 lanes, right? There's no money for that. There's no money for a new intersection. All should be the principal requirements for rezoning, right? What you would be doing is approving a commercial, an injection of commercial property and development on a 2-lane road. Think about how dangerous that is, right? We already have accidents, deadly accidents there on a regular basis, right? That intersection needs to become like Valkaria. Everybody agrees? Does the town council have $2 million to do that? And by the way, we're not even paying for it because we know it would be Palm Bay, right? So we have no control over that. You would be approving commercialization within the town boundary, right? With no plan for public safety. So any death that happens would essentially be on each one of you. And all I have to do, by the way, as I figure this out, is flip 1 vote. Is that correct? It has to be unanimous tonight. Is that right? 6 votes, right? Public safety is your #1 job. Like, there are a lot of jobs up here, but you are responsible for the safety of the people in our town, right? My father drives there, right? I have talked to him about driving through that intersection and how dangerous it is, right? You would allow commercial development on 2 acres. By the way, things that I find disingenuous, right? 7,000 square feet on 2.34 acres.
Time's up, sir.
Great. I thought it was 5.
Great.
Okay. All I need is 1 vote, right, for the safety of the residents. Thanks.
Anyone else? Come on. Give us your name, please.
Name's Ron Mallett, live down the street from you. I was at the first meeting, I missed the last meeting, but I was at the first meeting where we started this talk. And I keep falling back to the one thing that came up quite a bit at the first meeting, where there seemed to be an intention that the council was legally obliged to pass this. Legally obliged. Fear of lawsuits. Fear of this becoming a big burden on the expense of the town. It was mentioned that the property was previously zoned commercial. Our charter said that we had to keep it zoned the same way it was when we formed the town. Well, I called the county. They have no records. They say they turned it over to the town. I asked multiple times at these meetings if someone could please come up with the information. I haven't seen it till tonight. We're voting on it. I don't know who has an answer to this. Is there such a document in writing where we could see that was commercial property the day before we became a town and took possession? Is there such a thing?
And I don't believe it was. We didn't change anything from when the county.
Grandfathered in. Well, grandfathered in was related to keeping it the same as when we took possession.
Correct.
So it was, okay. So that's why I never got an answer to that. So that talk that went on during one of the first meetings is kind of off the table.
It wasn't a future land use.
So it never was commercial? Never was. All right. That's why no one could ever find documents that it was commercial.
This, just for clarification, the zoning was not ever commercial.
Okay.
It may have had a flu designation, that's different than the zoning.
Then why were we told that we were obliged legally to make it commercial because they were grandfathered?
I don't know who told you.
No, I don't know if that was I don't know what the wording was, but the intent was, if it's compatible with the comprehensive plan, then we can approve it. All right,
That's the subject I was questioning. It was said, and I don't know if you keep records, notes, recordings, but it was said. Whatever happened with the moratorium that there was voted on? That was supposed
Still on.
Still on?
Still on.
So when we originally did it, they wanted to make it, I think, a 3-month moratorium, and we voted for 12 months. But it was mentioned that we'll have it done really quick. 3 months is plenty of time, but they still went for 12 months. Well, now it's been about 3 months. Have we done anything?
The meeting's next Wednesday.
Okay. So luckily we went for 12 months because it hasn't been done yet.
That's your time.
What's that?
3 minutes.
Okay.
Anyone else? What's your name, please?
Maria Dockery. I am the planning board member who made the motion to deny this change of from agricultural to commercial. The reason I did that was that there was no real purpose for what he planned to do with the property. And having a background in transportation, I know that traffic is a big issue, and the impact on the community and the homes in that area, as well as the people who are using that road. I believe that there would be a serious public health and safety problem with allowing that to continue. We really need to protect our community. We really need to find something that's going to benefit our community, because that's what my understanding was, is that the businesses come in order to benefit and to fit in with the community. And the vague, ambiguous, long list of things that can be done with this property, like the other gentleman said a little while ago, basically all this is a dollar sign. You're allowing him to increase the value of his property without really any commitment to what's going to be done to benefit our great little community. The town is not required to do this. There's no obligation for us to allow them to change this to BU. There is a similar situation that happened down in Indian River County, who is running a lot of the same problems that we are, and they actually voted it down. So it is possible to vote it down without consequence, because they're not providing the burden. The burden is on them to provide to us that they're going to meet all of our needs and wants, and I really don't believe that that's happening. And I also see that the owners of the property who are benefiting from this are not here. So they're sending a real estate developer to represent them. So again, that goes back to, that tells me it's more dollar signs. So I encourage you to really consider not allowing this to happen today, not promoting this, not allowing this change in use to happen, because I really think that there's a lot of people in this community who really are against it, and I think the safety of the people that you are serving is at stake if you allow this to move forward. And that's all I've got to say.
Anyone else? No one else? We'll bring it back to council.
Let me give, if they want to make a quick rebuttal, they're entitled to do that.
All right.
I want to revisit the question about traffic and the comment on that. Let me go to that page.
you have anything to rebut what the
So-
audience said? That's the purpose of the rebuttal, to rebut what the audience has.
Yes,
has
yeah,
said.
regarding traffic and safety. Yes. So again, with the understanding of the development process, first let me say that I'm not a real estate developer. I'm a consultant. I've been in commercial real estate for 39 years, and I am a consultant to developers, to owners, to homeowners associations, to people that are looking for expert type representation regarding real estate. So this is quasi-judicial, and what I'm saying, I hope you will give some serious weight to in terms of this is not my first rodeo. I've been involved in over $15, $20 million worth of commercial development, residential development, subdivision development, vertical and horizontal developments for the last 39 years. And I'm gonna say in terms of projected traffic patterns, in terms of water and sewer systems and other public facilities, these already exist. The requirement for somebody that wants to build upon them is to go in and figure out how to do it safely, properly, and in accordance with the code and the ordinances. So we can't just say, oh, we want our entrance over here, because this is gonna benefit the property. To make this turn in this direction would really be a plus to the, to the small retail tenants. That's not gonna be the driving criteria. It's going to be looked at by a third-party engineer, reviewed. You also have a road, Babcock, which I believe is controlled by the city of Palm Bay. So you'll have a second overview site in terms of traffic, public safety, infrastructure that may be pushed upon by the developer to say, if you want to put this development in this spot, you are now going to be required to improve the road. You're going to have to create a deceleration lane. You're going to have to create a left-hand turn lane of the cities and the counties that regulate that process. So do we meet this criteria? I say we meet it more for the fact that you already have designated the property for future commercial. You've already said, this is what I want in my town. I want commercial on this side. Something commercial is going to go there. There is going to be an increase in traffic. There are going to be different traffic patterns. There are going to be potential issues that have to be dealt with. But those issues will be dealt with in accordance with the town's policy, your ordinances, and all the outside agencies. It was mentioned scrub jays. Scrub jays, absolutely, 100%. If it is determined on that property that it can't be mitigated, and there are scrub jays on that property, the property will not be developed. If there are endangered species on that property, it will be the cost and the burden of the developer to move those species. I've personally been put there. We really can't say what we're going to put there. We're going to put there in accordance with what you've dictated. We're going to put there in accordance with your ordinances and your development criteria. And if it doesn't make sense, they want it, then you would absolutely have to have that protection for your town to say, if we're the final decision, as soon as you say yes or no tonight, if a shopping center can go up there and nobody else can say yes or no to it, then I would agree with you that you need to deny it. But that's not the case. So we're going to ask for your unanimous approval tonight because we feel we've met the qualification of the criteria.
Excuse me. Was there not a presentation by SE Petro about this specific land becoming a gas station?
Hold on.
It's that an affirmative vote of 6 or more members. However, in the rules, it states that a supermajority is 5 members, and in the charter, section 2.8 states that all land use and quasi-judicial items shall require a supermajority decision. In 2.01, it states that 5 or more members of the town council shall constitute a supermajority. So I am rebutting the notion that 6 votes is a supermajority, and our position is that there are 5 members. A 5-member vote would be the supermajority based on the charter sections that I've identified.
And to rebut that, 2.08C, what you read is correct, says, except as otherwise provided in this charter.
Okay,
9.03 would
Okay.
be the except as otherwise provided.
okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was a little lost on that one.
All right.
I was like, 5, 6, there we go. I appreciate it.
All right, public hearing portion should be closed and we bring it back to council, unless you got something to say, staff-wise? So, close the public hearing and bring it back to council.
I do, yes, sir. Appreciate the presentation and the sensitivity to our town. But, I'm not sure, I don't feel comfortable that the burden has been met in the sense, the burden has been met in what would happen in the future if it was changed and what you would do and how it would be treated fairly. But to me, I'm taking this as a burden to prove that the character that it needs to change at this time. If you look at that, the first one is the character of the land use and the surrounding property to be considered. When you look at it, there's nothing there. The consideration is it's agricultural. That's what it is.
So just, and you're referencing, 20-1151C.
Yes, sir. On
that criteria.
Right there, the criteria. The two more so is the change in conditions of the land use of the property be considered and surrounding since the establishment of the current applicable zoning classification. Well, when you go back to the picture, you don't have to. When you go back to the picture, there's been no change in the surrounding. If we give the BUA1, we create the change that makes this a moot point for anyone else. So there has been no change in the conditions that warrant that to be changed if you take it on today's existing situation. Number 3 is, Lizette brought up the impact of the zoning as far as traffic patterns, water, sewer. I do understand. I have gone there personally and visited at rush hour on morning, afternoon, and at lunchtime. And the road is, Babcock is quite a crazy busy street, and it's a problem. Not that that's the problem now, but we haven't heard of anything whether we're getting Palm Bay water, sewer. And I do understand your point, it's not there yet. But in this case, as it exists now, there's nothing there. So there is a traffic issue that I don't believe has been met, how we would really deal with it, because we would be the first ones there. We would set all this other criteria that made it happen. The bigger one on 4, compatibility of the proposed zoning with the existing land. I understand what our future land use says, and at one time, in time when Palm Bay develops some corners and other things happen, yes, it will be compatible with the surrounding land. But once again, if you look at the picture, it's not compatible with the surrounding land because there's nothing there. It's agricultural land and meant for that use. That being said, I don't feel that we've been shown hard evidence in meeting the rezoning criteria as it stands right now. And I will go forward and put a motion, which we can second and continue discussion, but I would put a motion to deny the rezoning.
I'll second.
Anybody else have anything to say?
We keep going back to the future land use map that was drawn up many years ago, and we had no idea, or actually there was an idea there, but the major development that's going on just a mile and a half down the road. I mean, there's going to be plenty of gas stations, hair businesses, all the lawyers, whatever, are going in there. And I just don't see where the future land use map is really applicable to this day and time.
Just for clarification purposes, I believe the motion was that they did not meet the criteria, correct? Okay, and I understand what you're saying, that is good for a future discussion, but, the focus should be, did they meet the objective criteria of the zoning code for rezoning? So, again, I understand what you're saying, but I just want to keep y'all focused that the comp plan part of this, you don't get there until they meet this.
Well, one of my main concerns is
Can you take your hands away from your mouth?
one of my concerns is there's water and sewer conditions for that land. Our town is a septic and well town. It's in our charter. That's what we are. And the state is now changing the septic systems and everything else for everybody in this town. And it's going to affect that whole site. Now, when you start putting commercial buildings on that site, what are you going to do about the septic and wells to run that thing? I mean, it's not, it's going to be a problem.
Are you saying that you don't believe they've met their burden to show the impact on water and sewer?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they shouldn't have burned them and just shown me the impact on the water and sewer system. They haven't said anything about it. The fact that there are no water and sewer systems, it has to be a well and a septic system out there. And that would be quite a burden for them to do.
Want to do, thank you for everybody coming out tonight. So we see passion from everybody showing up today, being concerned about our town. We really appreciate it. That's the reason why we're all up here volunteering to keep Grant-Valkaria the way it is. I agree with Dan that with 20-1151C, I agree that there's very limited substantial evidence to vote in favor of the zoning change.
So we'll call for a vote.
Let's do roll call, please.
Roll call.
Just for clarification, the motion is to deny.
The motion is to deny.
Roll call.
And I vote means you're agreeing to deny.
Mike Bartaveri,
Aye.
Brent Jackson,
Aye.
Dan Fadden,
Aye.
Lizette Kohler,
Aye.
Tom Salmon,
Aye.
Dan Rubino.
Aye. Okay, moving on. We have a consent agenda for the council meeting of January 8th. Here, consent.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna excuse myself.
Oh,
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Good night.
Good night.
This time I got
And I want to approve the consent agenda?
Make a
Oh, is there
motion.
a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda passes. Next one is public comments. Anybody else have any public comments about anything that have to pertain to this? And we got a couple cards here for you. Bob, you were up already. You want to come up? And Ron.
I'm Bob.
He's Bob.
You filled out a card? I did fill out a card, I bet you.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, you filled out a card.
That's sure.
Non-agenda items.
Not agenda.
Non-agenda items.
Just anything you want to talk about.
Beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, Vice Mayor, council members. My name is Bob Stevens. And I would like to bring to the council a concern regarding road safety on Valkaria Road here. While the road conditions, markings, and signage are very conspicuous out front of the town hall and the park. And my grandchildren go to the park, and so I appreciate that. About a mile east of here, that's not the case. Just prior to the first curve in the road, as you're heading eastbound, the paint is nearly non-existent. There are no centerline reflectors, and I feel that the signage for the upcoming curve in either direction is inadequate, especially at night. That area doesn't have streetlights that I'm aware of, and the curve signage is not conspicuous enough to properly alert drivers of the upcoming curve. I'm aware of at least 2 accidents in the past 18 months, 1 fatality and 1 resulting in injuries. I'm asking the town council to put a priority on making the necessary reconditioning of the road markings, consider centerline reflectors, and lighted curve signs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Just one minute, add to that, I live right across from the fire station, by the airport there. And, I totally agree with you on, and it seems like, what did we say, that there's 13,000? What did you tell me today for the traffic on Valkaria Road?
I'll have to look to get it exactly.
Well, you can, yeah, so it's way more traffic, way more cars going to Valkaria Road than we even have residents for the entire town. So we definitely agree that, it's kind of a thoroughfare. It seems like people are using 95 less than using US 1. And, I know people on Grand Road and Valkaria Road are seeing the increase in the traffic. So, I also would like to, I will talk to the sheriff's department, but I also wanted to mention that to you to maybe start thinking about doing more speed traps on Valkaria Road and Grant Road with the sheriff's department to slow people down, especially going by the airport. There's no homes directly on there, so I hear people revving up, and it's like a drag strip by my house. So we'll also address that too. Thank you.
We have the same problem on Grant Road. On Grant Road, got the stop sign squealing their tires. So, but we've been talking to the sheriff about that, and he sets up speed traps, and it slows down for a while, but we'll get him to set them up again. Anybody else?
Jason, didn't we address that we were gonna get some roads repainted?
Yes, that is one of the roads that are planning on being repainted when we pave Quarry Road. When the painters are in town, they're gonna do Weber, Valkaria. We haven't discussed reflectors on Valkaria Road. The reason the reflectors are out there now is when they did the thermal striping, they put reflectors out there on accident, and they weren't supposed to be there. So if you all want to do reflectors, we can.
Yeah, those reflectors are fantastic, especially when you come on, getting up to a curve, they're wonderful. I think we should try and get those. I know they're expensive.
When we do the striping, we'll get quotes with reflectors also.
Yeah, and on Grant Road too. Okay, yeah, because those really help, they really do.
Okay, Ron, it's our turn. 5 minutes, Ron.
5 this time. Nice. I don't need 5, and I needed it last time, but I wanted to know, I brought up in past meetings also about how a lot of stuff got pretty heated in town because we don't understand how it works. And is there a way to do a special meeting, make a special council, having a more less formal situation where people could sit down, raise their hand, talk, and I mean, I have a whole list of questions, and I've talked to people and they ask me, I don't know.
I would support that. I would support that. Right?
It doesn't have to be during one of your meetings, and maybe it could be later. A lot of people, it's hard for us to get here at 6 too.
It would have to be a time where it's announced and everyone's here, because it still has to be in the sunshine. So we still have to let the public know. We can't do an informal with all of us here unless the public knows.
Yeah, stuff like that. I didn't know who to talk. I got scolded once for talking like that. So
It's just that we have to stay in the sunshine, so it has to be an official meeting, and we have to be there.
Open to
all. But it can be less formal.
It can be open question, we can an open forum.
yeah, and I was thinking about even if people wanted to write into the town first with the questions that they're gonna ask, that way you got a chance to do your homework. We don't just hammer you with stuff that we don't know. Make someone in the town that could get an email address or announce during one of your flyers are coming up. If you have any questions for this meeting, it's gonna be this date. Let us know so we could publicly answer the questions.
Well, Ron, if you have any questions at all, you can always call Town Hall, and Jason or the girls will answer your questions, any question you have.
Well, it's not, I mean, I do when I have particular questions at that moment for that, but I think by doing, if we did in front of everyone, we would save everyone else from asking the same questions over. Or someone else might think.
I just want everybody to know that town is available.
Yeah, town's been great.
And you have the computer, you can go on the computer and find out the town on there, and you can get information there too.
And I even got an email back on a question one day on a Friday. I thought you guys are closed on Fridays. Were people working from home or what? Someone replied to me on a Friday, and when I wrote him, I said, I won't hear till Monday, and then Friday I looked. It was for an inspection or something, a schedule. I I said, why are they writing me on Friday to tell me that inspection's coming on Monday? They're not even open today.
That's our staff.
They just do what they have to do, that's it. Okay.
All right.
Well, Ron, I appreciate what you want, and I totally support it. I think it's great that people want to know these things. You need to know these things. We had to learn them ourselves when we started governing or running the town. So I'm very happy that you want to know, and I think everyone else.
I think a lot of people want to know.
I think it's great. And we'll try to set up meetings like that.
I mean, I talk to neighbors, and many of my neighbors don't know any of this went on.
Well,
They don't know about it. They don't do Facebook. They don't go to meetings. They don't.
well, I'm available, I talk to my neighbors all the time, right? You're down the street.
I live down the street.
Yeah, all you do is walk, you know where I live,
Golf cart.
come down and talk.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Andrew? You have a whole 5 minutes this time.
No, it's gonna be quick. So I just, it's no secret that I don't see eye to eye with the town council, but I wanna tell you, each of you, thank you for your vote tonight. Right? Everybody's here for the same reason, which is to protect Grant-Valkaria in the way it is, right? And a unanimous vote sends a clear message, right, to commercial developers that are gonna try this again, right? And they'll just keep going and going and going. So thank every one of you, all right? You may disagree, but I felt necessary to come up and say thank you.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Andrew, on that topic, I know you may disagree on things, but this town, when we founded this town, it was with our neighbors, and we want to keep it that way. You're all our neighbors. We're here to help each other stay the way this town is. So please, if things get testy, try not to get it testy, because we don't want to be testy with you. We may disagree, but we'll work it out. We'll work it out. And it's important to us. That's why we came up here. That's why we're up here. That's why we founded the town, to keep it this way. And we totally agree with what you all said. All right? So please don't think there's any nefarious things going on up here. These are all folks just like you. Just happen to be sitting up here. And we happen to have access to help the town. So please, but thank you for being magnanimous.
Thank you, Lizette.
All right.
Okay, Rhonda?
Sure it was.
Good evening, Rhonda Salmon, 4700 Moody Lane. My topic has to do with political signage that is still present in the community. I realize that there is an ordinance. There's also a state law. And I do know that we're not a proactive kind of organization when it comes to some of these ordinances. Regardless, the election at the federal level, federal, state, and local, occurred in November. It's now February. We have the new administration. We have new senators. We have local politicians. There's got to be something done about the continued political signage in the town. I do know that some letters have been dispatched to certain owners, homeowners, and perhaps we could put something in the newsletter that comes out. I don't know how code enforcement works, but from a state perspective, also from our own ordinance or charter, we ask for them to come down. Now that's from a legal perspective. We also have events that occur in our town on a fairly routine basis. Think about the seafood festival that's coming up in a couple of weeks. It draws tens of thousands of people. And we want to be able to show folks that we are a rural environment where everybody is welcome, that we want to appear welcoming, and The reason behind the seafood festival is so we can get money for kids to help them go to college. We're not very welcoming if we have these political signage up. I don't have an answer, but something needs to happen, and I can point out certain folks for you, and I respect those, however you voted, but at the end of the day, it's not just at the federal level. There's some signage in other areas that still remains for other Florida-based senators and such. Let's move on. Let's show we're an inclusive community. And regrettably, I have no answers for you other than sending in, continuing to work through the code enforcement. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Code enforcement will go out if someone calls and files a complaint. So if somebody calls the office and says they would like to see those signs taken down from a certain area, the code enforcement officer will go out. So everybody else knows that too. We are reactive, not proactive. So if there are a complaint, you have to call in and file the complaint, and then we will go out and take care of it. Anyone else?
Yeah. In reference, I do understand what Ron is saying, and I concur. I think the town needs, when everything comes down, we're a small little community. Respect everyone's vote. The vote's done. We now have our leaders in place. But I'd like to see the signs come down. So the question I'm asking Jason, if the town council wants to direct code enforcement on political signage only to make them aware that the code says it to come down, would that be possible?
Yes, if I'm directed by, I work at the direction of town council, so if you all direct us to, we will enforce it.
And the reason I say that is because some people don't want to go forward and put their name forward because there has been retribution, there's been threats, there's been everything that happens to educators and everything everywhere. So I think if the town council would make a resolution stating that if code enforcement sees it or someone has a thing, it's still the council's resolution to go and ask them to just please honor. Now, I don't care if they put the signs inside their garage, inside their house, inside their yard. We're just asking it to come out of the public right of way, in essence. You can put it on the other side of the fence and leave it there all day. I mean, it's not an issue on your property. This is only for things that are standing outside. We have a vacant lot that has several flags and signs, and it's a vacant lot. It's a blatant violation. But people don't want to speak up for whatever reason. So I would make a motion that town council directs code enforcement on political signs that are in right-of-ways or outside of their, on the outside of their property showing to the public view.
Well, there's just, they're allowed to have a certain size, one certain size sign.
Two by two, they can say anything they want, but it's supposed to be inside their yard, not outside the yard on the fence, like I said. Right.
Anything outside the property that's over that size can be removed. So,
Well, yeah, but not hunted down, just if you see it, to put a letter or to ask that they follow the ordinance.
Years ago, when we used to go out through the road, we used to take all those signs down. We used to pull them down off the road, all those stake-in signs and stuff.
Understood.
We used to take them all down. Unfortunately,
We don't have that thing, but I'm talking about things on vacant property and so forth, which are not supposed to be anywhere.
Right. So, yeah, we can, can we make a motion to do that?
I'll second the motion.
All right, all in favor?
Sorry, hold on. Don't we have rules against this already? So what are we making a motion?
What we're doing is we're making a motion for the council to be the one represented, so an individual does not have to call.
That group, I was being very kind. I'm talking about people that are flying flags right at their property.
Several.
Flags.
So we don't have
they are endorsing folks that have been elected. Some of them have not, but endorsing people that have folks that have already been elected, and that's if they want to put, we do have a ordinance, regulation, whatever you call it, that it's a 2x2 sign that they can have on their property. But we're talking about folks that are flying flags, so I'm just putting it out there.
We don't have an ordinance, against, we do, okay, so.
Sign ordinance. Sign ordinance. We have a sign ordinance that says that they cannot have those signs if there's certain dates.
We're talking about flags.
You can have a flag,
Political banner.
but it has to be either the US flag or a state flag.
Okay,
They're called political banners.
Can't be political banners and stuff.
I'm caught up, thanks.
And my request is that the council is the one that just asks code enforcement to do this, to enforce with that ordinance instead of relying on someone to have to.
I agree with you 100%.
I second
So now the town council is the one who's filing.
No, we have to write a resolution. It's a motion for a resolution that we have to write.
No, can be consensus that the council wants to direct code enforcement to enforcement of that?
Directing the town manager to do that.
I don't know if we can do that, just. Can we?
You can, you make a motion and vote on it. Or else give us direction to be proactive.
Talk about a resolution.
I'm sorry, I said resolution, which is improper. I'd like council to just instruct
Or just give him direction to go ahead and do that.
the political banner.
Right.
And I seconded it.
Hopefully before seafood festival.
All in favor?
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Hold on, Tim wants to, do you want to?
Well, we need discussion, I guess. We're not.
I was gonna ask a question. Is, by asking my town council directing code enforcement to be proactive, is our code enforcement strictly reactive because that's a rule that we have?
No.
No.
That's just,
There's a Florida statute out there that requires a person to report, and we have to take a name and number.
Right.
They have to, that way you can, your accuser, they know who their accuser is. At this, it would be the council reporting for political signs.
I guess I was just trying to make sure you're not violating another rule by
no.
creating,
No.
directing them to be proactive.
We're not circumventing state law.
Yes, we're just, yes, it's just, no, state law says they have to take them down.
In 5 days.
5 days, they got to take them down. That's the state law. After the election, 5 days after the election, they have to be removed. Okay?
But we're saying signs, right? Not flags on people's
Any
flagpoles.
kind of banner, other than a 2x2 sign.
So you're saying that there's a state law that says somebody cannot fly a political flag on a flagpole?
No.
Where is this rule written? Where, is there a code number? Is there a town code?
If you're speaking, I do need you to state your name for the record, please, before you do your
I had my
statement.
hand for a while, but other people just walked up. Ron Malley.
Read your name.
Richard Doctor?
I'm out, I'm back again. Anyway, as I was saying earlier about the questions and what's going back and forth here, this seems to me like it's kind of jumping back and forth. I guess there's already a law or code, right? What do you call when the town has a law? Is it a code? An ordinance. There's already an ordinance, right? So we're making a new ordinance?
No, we're not making a new ordinance. We're directing the town manager to give the code enforcement officer the right to go out and remove the signs because we're the ones filing the complaint.
Well, now this is another version. Remove the signs, so how about when people have stuff on their personal property?
2x2, what, 2x4? 2x2. Anybody can have a 2x2 sign on their property that says anything they wanted to say.
At any time?
Yeah, at any time.
Why?
Because it's a political phrase.
Why?
If you go in the town website, you got the code of ordinances.
Right.
That are listed on the town website, you can actually access a sign ordinance and it talks about all the flags and signs.
And it'll say which one is political and which one isn't. It doesn't have to have a person's elected. Okay, that's why I asked, did the rainbow flags count?
Yes, they do count as their.
So you can't,
Against the
MAGA would be promoting a position of your feeling, just like a rainbow flag would for them.
That is correct.
So you can't do a MAGA flag, but you can do a rainbow
No,
flag.
you cannot do it.
You cannot?
Well,
All right,
let's,
that's-
Ron, hold on, let's bring it back in, hold on one second, just, I understand where you're coming from, if you don't mind taking your seat. I wanna, okay, so we're focusing on something that's, to me, is not a big issue, right? Like, I would rather have, our code enforcement, let's vote on something that would say, I want code enforcement to go out and, specifically look at, the parked cars in somebody's front yard, or, things that we're all really concerned about, where issues that would be code enforcement, that would be a traditional code enforcement thing. I'm just concerned with giving them direction specifically for this one thing and we're focusing on something that, we're highlighting this one issue versus potentially, all the other issues that maybe are even more of a concern to people. Now, with that being said, I understand the potential concern of pushback when somebody complains about something, but my concern, or my as a resident, if it's really bothering me this much that I have an issue with something going on with my neighbor, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say, you know what, I don't like this anymore. I'm going to complain to the town because it's unacceptable to me. Whatever level that it happens to be for a resident to be able to complain. That's the way we've been doing it, and unfortunately, we understand that retribution, but the retribution comes with consequences, right? Like if your neighbor is doing something malicious to you, then you can report them to the sheriff's department, or there's consequences for your actions. So I'm just concerned that we're going down the wrong path when we're focusing on one specific area to be concerned with. Do you guys understand where I'm coming from?
Mike, but it is against the ordinance.
Right.
We have an ordinance in place, and this is against the ordinance.
And there's also, I think, a Florida law that requires any political signs to be taken down within
5
5
days.
days.
And I totally agree with all of you, but there's also like 100 other things that are against the ordinance. So there's multiple things. So then we could say,
Well, if that's bothering somebody, then they can complain and.
no, and I get it. What is the difference between like somebody has a container in their front yard, and so we should make a blanket statement then for all of us and say, then from here on out we change unless there's a requirement that we don't have the complaints don't have to happen. We just have them be proactive instead of reactive.
No, Mike, what you're not understanding is, this is a common problem. This is not a single item problem. This is a problem that occurs every election. Every election this occurs, we have signs left all over the place. Because, and they all know, when they put a sign up, they have to take it down in 5 days after they left. That's the law. They know. The rest of the stuff is somebody privately when something's done to another house or something. That's a single thing all by itself. That's not a law. It's a law that you have to take that sign down, right? The other thing is a complaint. You want a complaint against your neighbor. What you might be complaining about when the code enforcement guy goes out there and looks at it, it might not be a complaint that he can file against. That'd be your opinion. But this is not your opinion or anybody else's opinion. This is a law by the state. 5 days, that sign comes down after an election. That's the law.
And then you had mentioned that that's assuming that everybody knows that. I mean, we realize that most people didn't even know this was
Anybody running a
zoning.
political campaign knows it. I ran clean. I put signs up when I ran for office. I took them down in 5 days.
No, I get it, but a
Everybody
resident,
that runs a political campaign knows they got to take the sign.
right? A resident that has a flag doesn't know that they're not running a political campaign, right? So that's the problem, right?
Here you go. 5 minutes. We've got two. We both have points.
He was having a hand on it. Come on.
So we're talking about the flag.
Just state your name again one more time.
Ned Batchgalupo, 3310 Grant Road. So you're talking about there's a flag. I think it says "Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be commies" or something like that. I love that flag. My favorite flag. I absolutely love it. This is Trump country. We voted 75% for Donald Trump in the last election, and unfortunately, we're run by Democrats. And now you guys are trying to bully people about their signs. Well, I used to live in the most liberal town in the most liberal state called Windsor, Connecticut. My neighbor kept up his Hillary Clinton sign for 3 years after she lost. The wind hit it, the rain hit it, the sun hit it, and gradually over time it disintegrated on its own. And then he put up the Black Lives Matter sign after that. Now, down in Fort Lauderdale, I used to live down there. My boss, a 78-year-old man I used to work for, had a huge Donald Trump sign in Wilton Manors, which, if anybody knows that town, that's even more liberal than Connecticut. Happens to be, got a reputation for liberalism. Huge billboard he put on his property where he worked. And he was savagely beaten by 3 men at one time. 78-year-old man, savagely beaten by 3 men. It was all over the news. He was beaten within an inch of his life for his sign. So people are putting up these signs. That stands for something, you know, and people are putting their word out there. The people who beat him were never arrested. Nothing ever happened to them. But I think, for one, in Grant, we shouldn't be cracking down on every little thing and nitpicking, especially these flags, whether or not they're political or whether it says, "Don't let your babies grow up to be commies." You know, in the suburbs where I used to live, they had the Hillary Clinton sign going 3 years. Never took it down. So I think we're getting a little bit suburban here. This is a rural fishing community, farming town, and I don't think you guys should be, this isn't an HOA. That's what you're behaving like. So that's all I'm saying.
Let me address that. I think that what the gentleman just said is patently untrue. There's a state law that states, and for the last 30 years, this state has been run in all offices by Republicans, right? So to say that people are trying to be liberal here is patently false. And the residents, basically some residents, no matter what their political persuasion is, some don't want to see these political signs. The state law says there's a 5-day minimum, and that's it, and that actually has come down. Maximum has come down. We're just enforcing the law. So if you want to enforce the law, enforce the law. So let's not cherry pick what we want to do and what we don't want to do. But the law says 5 days, it comes down. And so there shouldn't be a problem, I think, if homeowners don't want to be bullied. You know, and we know the political climate that we do live in, that does happen, right? So I would say, and I understand what Mike is saying, but the law is the law. The state law says 5 days. All political signs come down, except for a 2x2, right? So I would agree that instead of putting the residents in a predicament where they have to have somebody, you know, being harassed, possibly, that the council can take it upon themselves, protect those homeowners who don't want to see, I don't care who you vote for. So I would say, yeah, you know, we take a vote on it and direct the code enforcement.
Just to clarify.
And to follow up on Brent's statement, everybody up here, when we came on the council, we had to take an oath to uphold the law. You know, so it's our responsibility.
So, here's the thing. Now they won't complain. If you complain, they won't come to you. That's why we're here. Let them come and complain at the council. If they got a complaint because they had to take their sign down or their flag down, they can come to the council meeting and file a complaint, or come and file a complaint thing, and you'll be told what the law is. And that's it. I mean, we took an oath, like he said, to follow the law. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Richard Dockery?
I think we need some clarification on some things, because there's some confusion. We're talking signs, right? No,
And flags.
and flags. So, if I have a flagpole on my property, and I have a Trump flag on my flagpole, one, you're telling me I'm breaking state law.
Yes.
Two, you're telling me that code enforcement can take down my flag. Okay, so let's get some clarification on that, because those are two very important points that could cause a lot of problems. Where are we standing with that?
You have ordinance for the flag ordinance. Yeah, there is it's an ordinance, it's on the code. Code enforcement will not take anything off your property when they come out there. You'll end up receiving a letter. And then the goal of code enforcement is to come into compliance. So they'll give you time to rectify the situation once you received a letter. So they don't come out there and take anything off your property.
Okay,
They will not
so
enter your property.
code enforcement says I cannot have a Trump flag on a flagpole.
The town ordinances.
Town ordinance.
Yeah, the town ordinances, you can find that on their website at the bottom.
So how do we change that town ordinance? Because I'm sure there's a whole lot of people who are against that.
You have to petition the council to change the ordinance.
Okay.
The sign flag ordinance.
Easy enough.
Maria Dockery. Okay, so I have 2 points. So we are kind of we're interchanging the words sign and flag. I'm noticing. Everything that Mike's saying, I think you're spot on. I think you're going in the right direction. We're getting to the point now too where we're setting a precedent that I don't know if you guys want to be in that situation, but anybody who doesn't want to follow state law, report to the town that they're going to complain about something because they don't want their name to go out and to be outed. There's a reason for that. Okay, so
only one thing we're talking about is signs, nothing else.
flags.
Anything else
You just said flags. A minute ago.
Anything else somebody wants to complain about, they have to file a complaint with the town before the code enforcement will go out to see it. And they have to tell them who they are and where they're at and why they're filing the complaint. So that's part of the state law. That's fairly new that they have to give. There's no more anonymous giving.
But this is anonymous. It's happening
No,
right
it's
now.
not. We're telling them that the town council is giving that ordinance. They've got
To remove signs from public right-of-ways,
They can come
as
to
both
us.
Dan and Mike had said, which is very simple and very reasonable.
vacant lot.
And agree, my issue is with the flags.
gotta
So
be
when we're blanket, so now you're just saying they gotta be down.
We're saying any political sign is illegal to be up after 5 days. And if it's a flag, it's still
Who
illegal.
decides what the verbiage on the flag is? MAGA is not a political flag. Who decides that? So the other thing you're doing is you're setting a precedent to put yourselves before, so, well, I'm just gonna go to town council and complain, and they're gonna take care of my problem, and I stay anonymous, is what's gonna happen. So, but you're setting that precedent. But again, Dan and Mike, I think you're spot on. I think you're going in the right direction, and I think you began to make a motion, and I support, what you're going.
There is a motion.
Okay. So a lot of people think that, I'm Republican. I'm not. I'm actually libertarian for the most part, right? And a constitutionalist. But I am not a fan of Joe Biden, or really anybody that put that up there. But I would never deny somebody for putting up a Hillary Clinton sign or a Joe Biden sign, right? I don't agree with it. But the constitutionalist in me says, hey, listen, they have a right to express themselves. And I know what they're talking about. I know exactly where the fence line is. I know exactly where the signs are, right? I would never do that. Why? Because I believe in the Constitution and the right to free speech, right? This is a free speech issue. It is on private property. That is not in the right-of-way. That is on a fence line out of the right-of-way, right? Listen, they can put up 1,000 Biden signs. I don't personally agree with it, but I would never deny somebody the ability to do that, and neither should you. Like, this is not something that you should focus on. And I get the fact that you're saying it's state law. Like, there are more important things to focus on, and in this politically charged environment, I would suggest let it lie, right? Somebody is upset about things. Like, I don't like the political signs that are on Route 1 at the motel, right? I I would never say something to someone and say, well, I don't like that, you need to take that down. Not in 10 million years.
You know what, we cannot regulate or legislate, content of signs, okay? We have nothing to say about what is on the sign. What we can do is limit the size of a sign and how many. No matter what it says, you can put whatever you want.
And by the way, I know the contention because I've talked to the landowner, right? I've been over there, you know, and I've got no bone to pick here other than it's private property.
It doesn't upset you, but it upsets somebody else.
I understand. So I understand, but my point, Dan, is that it should not be the business of the town council.
It doesn't upset me either, but it upsets somebody else, and that's the law.
I know, but think about this. This is a right to free speech issue. Why would you weigh in on this, right? Just let them do, like I said, my neighbor could put up 10,000 re-elect Joe Biden signs, and I would not like it, but I would never say something to him, right, about, hey, you need to take your sign down. I just wouldn't do it, right? I consider it his right to free speech.
But if your neighbor on the other side didn't like it, he could file a complaint.
Sure.
And
right,
then
but you have taken
Then it would go to code enforcement. And code
you have
enforcement
taken the
would come down
position.
and send a letter to him, and then what would happen is he'd have to wind up coming down to code enforcement law, or if he didn't take the signs down, then he would start to get into another letter, and he'd have to come before the magistrate, and be either take it down or be fined.
I think it is a mistake.
We want to eliminate this. That's what we're trying to eliminate. Something of this.
I think it is a mistake to parochialize this. I would stay out of it, and that's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on. We've got other business to take care of yet for this meeting. Let's get it done.
Well, you wanted to,
We already said.
No, we haven't voted yet. We haven't voted on number one. Number two, I want to clarify, yes, we're not looking to get into what you do on your private property, what's on the private property. I think that the stuff in the right of ways, I think the stuff on the vacant properties, that we should clean it up. I would appreciate if they put signs, if someone has 6 signs along their fence, it's fine, but you narrow it down to 1 sign on the exterior, which you're right, and then the rest you can put in your property, you can fly a flag inside your property from my perspective. Thank you. But the stuff that's in the right of ways, the stuff that's on vacant properties, I think that will not get cleaned up unless we ask for it to be cleaned up. So in that capacity, I would ask that the town council ask Jason to clean the right of ways and vacant properties of any kind of signs, but they're not supposed to have anything on there. The others, I'm going to refrain from getting more involved at the moment, but pleasure of the council.
no, this way, so I agree with that. So I agree with the right of way, because you got the signs in the right of way, and that's supposed to be cleaned up, right? And because there could be a lot of clutter, right?